Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. My name is Laura, and I will be one of your hosts today.
And my name is Ashley, and I am the other host for this podcast. Today, we will be interviewing the fire chief of Paso, Robles, and also talking about some common household fire causes. Today, we are pleased to welcome Jonathan Stornetta, the fire chief of Paso Robles Fire Department.
Woo! Thank you, Jonathan, for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
So, I want to start out by talking about your journey in this career path. What led you to becoming a firefighter?
Well, I'll tell you, I never planned on being a firefighter till I was actually out of high school. And I had a close friend and also a family friend. And that family friend happened to be the fire chief for the city of Tascadero Fire Department. And he encouraged me to come down and become a volunteer for the fire department. And that was in the early 90s. And once I became involved, I found great satisfaction in helping others. So that just led me to continue my career. I worked as a reserve firefighter for a number of years and then wanted to enhance the medical side of my skills and became an EMT with the local ambulance company. I spent a few years as an EMT on the ambulance company, and I was given an opportunity to provide or to attend paramedic school with the California Highway Patrol in Sacramento, and that was through UC Davis. So I took advantage of that, and once I completed the program, I was going to come back home and work on the ambulance, but the Highway Patrol offered me a job on the helicopter. So obviously that was interested me.
That sounds fun.
Yeah. But there was one precursor for that. They said that in order to work on the helicopter, I had to first spend 2 years in a police car as a police officer. And I knew I was not police officer material. So I was too nice. I would let too many people off on the So I came back to San Luis County and actually worked on the ambulance for a few years and then went to work for the City of Morro Bay Fire Department, who gave me my first job as a firefighter paramedic. And in 2000, the city of Paso Robles was expanding their fire department. So I gladly accepted a job here. And I've been with Paso Robles for just over 19 years. And I've promoted through the ranks and became the fire chief 3 years ago. So that's just a quick overview on how I got into this career path and what I've done so far.
Wow, that is certainly there was a lot, and that you have to have some great experiences from there. So we'll talk about that in a little bit. But congratulations on being fire chief for 3 years. That's very exciting.
Accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. So with your career, I'm sure there's pros and cons. And firefighters have a particularly dangerous job description, while it also seems very rewarding. What are your thoughts on that balance?
I would say the pros of the job are it's very rewarding. And the genuine thankfulness we often receive from members of our community and throughout the state is a continuous reminder of why I chose to help others. And, you know, as I'm sitting here, I'm looking at my desk, and today I received a card from one of the residents of Paso Robles, and she handmade cards for every member of our organization just to say,
oh my gosh, that's amazing.
It's the continually receiving such great thankfulness from people. It just inspires you to work harder and continue to help others. As you know, there's fires throughout the state, so we've been traveling all over the state, and it's amazing the things that people make for us just to show how thankful they are. We have, I think it's poster-sized pictures from last year when we were in Santa Rosa, and it's just different organizations up there saying thank you. And to know that the community takes that much time out of their busy schedule to thank the people in the fire service, just it's amazing, and it's inspiring. So I would say that's the biggest pro and probably the biggest reward to being in a community-based organization like this.
Well, I'm sure it's been a crazy fire season. I mean,
yeah,
you guys have been doing a lot.
Yep, it's been busy. I would say along with that, you know, there are cons. We are involved in a lot of incidents that have negative outcomes, you know. The loss of life, tragedy is very stressful, and it takes its toll on you. continuing to see these tragedies day after day definitely takes a toll on you mentally and physically. So this job is, as you're probably aware, very physically demanding. A lot of sleep deprivation, so that's pretty common. We're a busy station or busy department up here. We have 2 stations. We run just over 4,000 calls annually. So we don't usually sleep at night. And, those are just many of the factors that are the reason that firefighting is second only to enlisted military personnel for being the most stressful job in America.
Wow.
So, how do we balance that? To help relieve the stress, we exercise, we have hobbies outside of work, we maintain quality time with our family and friends, and many of us participate in faith-based support. For those reasons, it's important we find a healthy balance and try not to focus on the tragedies that we encounter, and just try to move forward and remember why we're here. Because I'll tell you, if you focus on what we've seen in our careers, then it would cause most people not to do this job. But we know there's a greater calling for us, and we continue to focus on that and on the benefits we provide to the community.
Wow. Yeah, we'll certainly appreciate all the work that you and your department do. 4,000 calls a year, though, that's multiples daily. So,
Yes.
so that's, and Paso Robles is not the biggest city out there.
No, and it's growing. This year alone, the city council has approved over 1,900 new homes, and obviously we have resorts coming in, motels, so we're only getting busier. But you know what? We're getting by. We're managing, and city council has said that public safety is a priority. So we hope to get some more staff and another fire station to help with the increase in call volume that we're seeing.
Yes. So do you have any you talked like that there are such good things but there are such tragedy. Do you want to share any memorable experiences as a firefighter? I'm tripping over my words.
That's okay. I think I'll focus on the most memorable positive experiences we've had. I've been in the fire service for about 27 years now, and there's nothing better than helping to bring a life into this world. And in that time, I've delivered 11 babies.
Oh my gosh.
Oh.
Yeah. I would say the most memorable, and this is a story that I share often, is I remember earlier in my career, we actually responded to a residence for a female that was having back pain. And that female we showed up, and the female and her husband were there, and they'd been out water skiing all day. And so we just thought that the pain in her back was, from the water skiing. And what we ended up finding was, something we thought we'd never come across, but she was actually in labor. So she did not even know she was pregnant. Her and her husband have been trying for many years and been, unsuccessful. She didn't have the history that most people would have if they were pregnant.
Right.
So there was not the signs and symptoms. And next thing we knew is we were delivering a baby right there. They were just in shock and disbelief because, obviously they've been trying for so many years. They didn't know they were pregnant. And I would say emotions were all over the place for the family.
Well, I'm sure that's a big surprise.
I think there's a whole reality show on that, right?
Yes, there is.
I mean, what do you do when you're not prepared? There's no baby room. There's no baby shower. It's your family, that day and say, we just had a baby and they didn't even know you were pregnant. So, but the outcome was positive. Like I said, they were just overcome with joy. They'd been trying for many years. And to wrap it all up, the story actually made it in the National Enquirer.
Oh, wow.
Myself and my partner were also mentioned. We still have that newspaper to this day. And actually my partner was Keith Agson, who is
Uh-huh.
the fire chief for San Luis Obispo City Fire now. So,
Oh, wow. Well, look at that.
Hi.
but
That's a good team right there.
yeah, but we thought I talk about, what continues to keep me in this job, and it's how thankful people are. And that family actually made myself and Chief Agson a plaque, and it was a poem she wrote. And I'll tell you, to this day, that plaque still hangs on my wall, and that was over 20 years ago. So it's,
Wow.
when I started thinking about this after you gave me those questions, I said,
Mhm.
it'd be nice to reach out, because that child's 20 years old now, just to see how the family's doing. But
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
we all get busy in our lives, and it'd be nice just to follow up some point.
Oh,
Yeah, you
yeah.
definitely should. That is something you'll probably carry with the rest of your life.
Yeah, so I would say that's one of the most memorable. I'm sure there's many more, but
Yeah.
after so many years, you kind of lose track of all
Hmm.
those. But that one definitely, having that plaque still hanging on my wall, it reminds me of that day.
Mhm.
That's good. All right. Well, back to our about talking about fires in general. What do you think are some common fire hazards that people should consider?
You know what? I'll start with the home, because that's usually where we see the bulk of our fires. And the leading cause of fires in the U.S. today is cooking fires,
Mhm.
which ultimately lead to residential structure fires or house fires. So some points I want people to remember or remind them of is to stay in the kitchen while you're cooking. Don't leave whatever you're cooking unattended,
Mhm.
and if you are leaving, please make sure you turn off the burners. Um, Additionally, many people have grease fires, and the
Mhm.
first instinct they have is to throw water on the fire to put it out. But grease obviously doesn't mix well with water, so usually it
Mhm.
causes the activity to increase and spread. When
Mhm.
Mhm.
a simple alternative is just turn the burner off and cover the pan with a lid. So
Mhm.
if we can take the oxygen away from the fire, then usually that can put the fire out.
Right.
Obviously, if the fire is too big, we want you to call 911. You can call 911 either way, because usually there's some type of extension from the fire, and we'll come out. We don't want you to get burned, especially with grease burns.
Oof,
Yeah.
yeah.
Another common cause we see, and it's, I'm glad we're talking about today as we come in the winter season, is
Mhm.
from heaters. So a lot of people use floor heaters, and,
Mhm.
they get too close to flammables. So whether that's blankets, carpets, um, in your kids' room, stuffed animals, make
Curtain.
sure you have about 6 feet of clearance from the heaters, and never leave the heaters on unattended. So always turn them
Mhm.
off if you're not in the room. And then one that I know, you college kids like your candles. I see it.
They smell good.
That's what we always hear. They smell good. But we see a lot of fires caused from candles. And
Yeah.
the biggest reason is you leave to go to class, and I'm not just
Mhm.
blaming the college kids, it's everybody. We
No,
leave
no.
to work. We want our house to smell good when we come home, and we leave the
Uh-huh.
candle going.
Mhm.
Well, we do see fires from the candles when they're left unattended. So please put out your candles before you leave the house, or if you leave the room. We don't want to see any more fires out there.
Yeah.
So those are just kind of the common, household hazards we see with the structure fires or residential fires.
Mhm.
And then I think a little later we'll get into the wildland fire side of things, especially today. So we're at critical fire weather today. If
Mhm.
you're in San Luis, then it's probably close to 100 degrees.
Yeah.
The wind's blowing, and our humidities are really low. So
Mhm.
even just a discarded cigarette could start a fire. Small spark from the exhaust. We're on high alert right now, just because of the fire behavior we're seeing.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, how do you and your family or your crew, how does everybody that you're close to prepare for a fire season?
Well, asking a firefighter how they prepare for fire season will probably be a little more far and beyond what the normal person. But we always recommend everyone take these preparedness actions, because
Mhm.
Mhm.
obviously if we're taking them, then we know that you need to take precautions.
Right.
Uh, and we make sure that the number one thing, make sure you cut or mow all the dead grasses, plants, weeds, anything that's combustible within 100 feet of your house or any outbuildings on your property. So what happens is when we get a fire coming, we get what we call ember casting. So with the wind, it could start a fire. I mean, they're seeing in some of these larger fires up to 10 miles away, these ember castings. So they're essentially just hot embers coming and starting a fire in these structures or on property that's 10 miles ahead of the fire. So we want to make sure that all of our residents and community members, have that proper distance around their house. We do recommend not mowing now because obviously it's too hot and a small spark could start a fire. Usually in the early mornings when, the humidity levels are up, we recommend really doing this in the April months, in the earlier months, and then following up with some type of herbicide or something to make sure that the vegetation doesn't grow back. Another thing you can do is clean your roof and gutters of any dried leaves or debris. So that way, if there is ember casting, that doesn't start a fire on your roof and, make its way into the house through the attic vents. Make sure that sometimes we're sleeping when these fires occur and we don't even know that they're going on around us. So we want to make sure that your smoke detector batteries are changed twice a year. And as a reminder, we say just do it every time the time changes. So that gives us a good idea of when that needs to be done. Also, moving into winter, like we talked about the heaters earlier, we want to make sure that everyone has a working carbon monoxide detector inside their home. Carbon monoxide is a colorless, odorless gas, and we see fatalities from people that have some form of something in their house that creates carbon monoxide, and usually that's heaters, or some people, when power goes out, utilizes generators. So you won't even know that there's carbon monoxide in your house. So it's important to have a carbon monoxide detector. And then obviously, again, with winter coming, make sure that if you have a fireplace, that you clean your chimney every year. We get a large number of fires from fireplaces that haven't been cleaned. So we encourage people to take appropriate safety precautions and making sure that's done as well. So probably the biggest thing right now that's fire season is make sure that all those combustibles are cleared away from your house at least 100 feet.
Okay.
All right.
Wow. Thank you.
Well, that was a lot of information.
Yeah, but it's
Definitely
so very
things that
helpful.
you don't realize that are so small but can change your life, It's crazy.
Yeah, too, when we talk about, fire season right now, even a simple barbecue in your backyard with wood is cause for concern because of the embers that come out of it. We recommend people use gas grills this time of year. And, some people have little warming fires in their backyards that they put wood in. We recommend using some type of propane or, non-combustible materials in there, so that way you don't create embers and create a fire.
Right.
Now, I'm wanting to focus a little on this year. I mean, we've had COVID-19. Has your job changed since the pandemic? And what should people do to take COVID precautions when they need assistance or have an emergency?
To say COVID-19 hasn't changed my role and the way it affected our operations would be an understatement. It's significantly impacted us. I mean, it's impacted everybody. It's, all the fire departments throughout the state, the business owners, the community, the elderly. But as far as its effect on our organization, it's affected our whole response protocols. Our crews don't respond out to any emergency now unless they're dressed in full protective gear. So that includes masks, goggles, booties, gowns, and we've never had to do that before. And I can tell you that with the weather in the North County, it's hot and all that protective gear. And that gear actually even slows our response times, that's something that we try to enhance or improve. But it takes 30 seconds to a minute to get all that gear on before we respond. It affects, and I'm sure like all of you on the podcast today, your ability just to interact with each other, go out in public or be out with your friends.
Yeah.
that takes a toll on people mentally. And I think that's how we all relieve stress is we interact. We go out, we have dinner with friends.
Mhm.
Um, we socialize, and we're seeing that around here, that people just aren't able to get out and socialize, especially the impacts on like our nursing facilities where um, family members have someone in nursing care, and they're unable to go visit them. I mean, it was 6 months they couldn't go visit their family members, so that really takes a toll on people. um, the we're seeing even greater impacts because obviously we've been responding throughout the state for all these wildland fires, and some of these fires have between 3 and 7,000 firefighters on them. So how do you we can't wear a mask when we're out on these fires because obviously it's arduous work, and we can't breathe with these masks on. So the actions they've taken to limit the spread there is usually we have a big base camp where we all go and we sleep and we eat, and they have a big cooking area or center food facility that we eat at, and now everyone gets boxed lunches or boxed dinners, and we eat in our own what we call module, and that's the people that we're on these assignments with. So
Mhm.
you sleep with your module, you eat with your module, and you don't socialize, and really that's how we get our contacts throughout the
Yeah.
state is the new people we meet out on these fires. But yeah, so it's definitely had a huge impact on our fire department. And
Mhm.
obviously, my role now, our emergency operations centers activated. So I'm the incident commander of that, and it involves a lot of city staff to keep that up and running and provide continual updates to not only public health, but the county EOC and my city council as well. So a lot of work that I never thought as a fire chief we would be doing at this point in time. But
Right.
it's the new reality. It's here
Yeah.
with us for a long time. So
It
yes,
certainly
it's
is.
impacted us greatly.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, and it just doesn't sound like it impacted you physically, but also kind of mentally and emotionally, like you said, the interactions with everybody else
Mhm.
really got cut off, and that's hard. I'm an extreme extrovert myself. And I certainly understand needing to have those interactions with people to lift you up, to have that sense of camaraderie, goodness. And yeah, just
Yeah, it's socially, we're definitely seeing a change out there when people can't get out and socialize, be it gatherings or little parties, things like that. And especially we have a large elderly population here in Paso Robles,
Mhm.
and to know they're essentially locked down, it's unfortunate. So
Yeah.
it's taken a toll on people.
Mhm. And I'm sure it's very hard for your team. I mean, you guys are always together, working together. You're not even, it's more of a family, I'm sure. So
mhm.
I'm sure it's hard with everything going on to not have that, closeness or social as you've had before.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Is we have two different stations, and usually they train every day together, and we've eliminated them training together. They train on their own now because we can't take the chance of infecting any of
Hmm.
our people. It's just once if we were to get COVID here at our department,
Oh, yeah.
it'd be hard to staff. So we've
Sure.
taken a lot of extra precautions, and knock on wood, we've been fortunate so far.
Thank
Um, I
goodness.
would say though, for the community, how they could help out is when you call 911 is if you exhibit any of the signs and symptoms, so a fever, cough, weakness,
Hmm.
anything like that, that you tell our dispatchers.
Hmm.
And so that way, we're always responding prepared, but we would probably have instructions for the caller, put on a mask, come
Hmm.
outside. So we don't want to go in their house if,
Yeah.
there's an opportunity that we could get infected even more. We obviously decon ourselves, throw all of our personal protective equipment away after each call. But if we can limit our exposure and you can meet us outside and have a mask on, it only helps our ability to not catch it.
Of
Yeah.
course.
Well, yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming. I think that I just would like to wrap up with a little bit of a hopeful subject. What would you tell young people today who are considering firefighting as their career path?
This has been a great career for me, and I'm sure many of those that are in this occupation would say the same. It's very rewarding. I would encourage anyone that wants a job where they can help out others on a daily basis to apply. I would advise them, though, of the challenges and stresses that we often encounter, and those stressors are constantly changing. You know what? If you want to come to a job that you never know what to expect, this is the job. It's not a routine job. It's not like you come to work and you know what's going to happen that day. And I would say that's one of the benefits of this job is you never know what challenge you're going to face tomorrow. And I would say a perfect example of that is, just a couple of months ago, I received a call at 4:30 in the morning from the police chief, and he said, somebody's shooting up our station. And I said, say, what? Someone's shooting in our station? He said, yes. And that's when we had the active shooter. And
Right.
I think it was 22 holes we found in the fire station and the police station.
That was crazy. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yes. And so that was 3 days of no sleep. It's a little unnerving knowing someone's running through your community. But I don't want to get too far off topic. I think that goes to just further reiterates that every day is a challenge, and it's a new challenge.
Yeah.
I would encourage people that are interested. If you're under 18, you can have your parents sign a release or waiver. If you're over 18, you're welcome to come right along with us. And if you really want to see what our job encompasses and what we do on a daily basis, come do a ride along with us. You can ride on the fire engine for 8 hours, and really that will give you a good idea of what to expect from this occupation. But
Wow.
if you really want to help out others and you want a rewarding career, I would encourage you to, look into the fire service. And we're always here to answer questions. We enjoy that. And like I said, come visit us, come right along, see if this is the career you want to take.
I didn't even know that was a thing. That's so
I know.
cool.
Like, that's like a really good, experience. Something that, or how would you even word that?
A really good experience. Yeah.
So if one of you wants to ever come right along, although, right now with COVID, we had to put right along on hold, but I will extend the offer to any of you once we get out of this pandemic. So.
Wow.
Great.
We'll certainly look forward to that. Yeah.
We really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule and letting us interview you, and we learned a lot of great information that I'm sure it's going to be helpful to some people.
Yes. Yeah, I hope so. And always, feel free to reach out to us. And when we were talking about how you can protect yourself from fires, I would say you could log on to the Paso Robles Fire Department website, and there's an action plan for wildfire preparedness and smoke detectors and CO detectors. All that information is available online, and usually you can find most of that information on any fire department website.
That's great. Yeah, we'll have to add a link into our video and have people take a look at that.
Yeah, I can email you the link if you'd like.
Great.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. That was such good information that he shared.
It really was, and I'm really glad that he was able to take the time out of his day to let us interview him and get all that really good information.
Yeah, especially since he mentioned that it was a very high-risk day, that he took the time to come and meet with us for our listeners.
I know.
He really has done so much for our city of Paso Robles and our community.
Definitely. My favorite part was definitely when he was telling us about the surprise baby. Like, it made my heart melt so, it was the cutest thing ever. It's just one of those, good feel, stories that you see on TV or, the Hallmark movies and stuff. But
yeah,
it's so, close to home,
Yeah, I know. I hope he does follow up with that family. To follow up with common fire causes, we talked a little bit about that with him, but we wanted to really provide our listeners with some detailed information regarding house fire causes according to the National Fire Protection Association. So the top 5 causes of household fires are cooking, heating appliances, faulty electrical wiring, smoking indoors, and lit candles.
Yeah, so let's start off with cooking.
Mm-hmm.
As Mr. Stornetta mentioned, cooking is the number one cause of household fires, and about 2/3 of cooking fires are caused by just cooking in general. When cooking, we always want to make sure that we're able to stay like near the hot food or appliances and check your food regularly. Don't
Yeah.
go walk off, don't go take a shower, or like go down the block, anything weird like that.
Yeah.
um and it's crazy how unfortunately leaving the kitchen can be so deadly. According to the NFPA, it's resulted in half of all home fire deaths.
Yeah, that's a very scary statistic.
Yeah.
Certainly, if you're using a Ranger stovetop, stay nearby and always make sure that there are no cloth items near the top of the stoves, like aprons, dish towels, or pot holders.
Mm-hmm.
He also talked about what to do if an oil catches fires and never throw water
Never.
on it.
Yeah, no
Yeah,
water.
yeah. He said to have a lid nearby when cooking to cover the
Mhm.
flame.
Yeah. And then even if it's something so small, and he even mentioned, like, don't be afraid to call 911 and call the fire
Mhm.
department, because they don't mind coming out. They want to assure our safety and make
They
sure
really
nobody
do.
gets burnt.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, oil burn just sounds so horrible. I've never experienced one, but I don't want to.
No, I know it's awful, but it's crazy how it's so common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um So for the second one is heating. Just be safe whenever you're using heating appliances. I know right now it's October and it's still hot outside in Paso,
Hmm.
but it's starting to cool down in the evenings. So I know people are going to start using heating appliances,
Hmm.
and everybody just needs to remember to keep those away from curtains. Just leave it running all night. Like, I know it's hard because you're sleeping and all, but
Yeah.
I guess the best way is just making sure it's, properly set up, cleaned regularly, and especially if you have a fireplace, to make sure you invest in like a good sturdy ash gate to prevent sparks, and also importantly install and maintain smoke alarms and carbon monoxide detectors. I know sometimes, like personally in my family, you start hearing it beep and beep, and it gets annoying because it's out.
Hmm.
So you take it out, and
Hmm.
that's totally not good. It's not a good thing to do.
No.
So don't do that.
Yeah. Stop doing that, Ashley. Yeah. No, for sure. And yeah, just both the smoke alarms and carbon monoxide
Mhm.
detectors should be placed on the ceiling of every floor of your home. So like every story of your home,
Mhm.
as as well as inside every bedroom and outside sleeping areas too. And to know where to place effective fire alarms, I recommend visiting firstalert.com. They have a great web page detailing where is the best place for your fire or I mean smoke detectors and carbon monoxide
Mhm.
detectors to go, because there are certain guidelines. You don't want them too close to a wall or too close to an air vent. So just visit firstalert.com to know all about that.
Yeah. Now for third is electrical. So accounting for about 10% of house fires, which I think is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
NFPA states that electrical fires are a reminder that you don't need a flame to start a fire, just heat in general.
Hmm.
Um, if an outlet sparks, or if you get like a tingling sensation from touching an outlet, you definitely, it's not right. You need
No.
to consult with someone, especially electrician, because, you know, um,
Yeah.
let's see, just be sure to install proper outlets such as like ground fault circuit interpreters or GFCIs. I know, big word, but it reduces the risk of shock in your bathrooms, kitchens, basements, garages as well. And you can even use it outside too.
Yeah, you should. Every outlet outside should be a GFCI, I read. So, and I actually have a story about electrical wiring. You should always make sure that all appliances are plugged directly into a wall, not an extension cord. And as he mentioned, always make sure that you are not using a electric cord or an extension cord as a permanent solution. So I bought my first house this past March, right before COVID caused our county to shelter at home. My house is fairly new. It's built in 2008. The previous owners installed a brand new water heater, a tankless one that could provide hot water to like a 15-room bed and breakfast, according to my inspector. But they had this fancy water heater powered by an 18-foot extension cord. They spent all this money to raise the home value, but they failed to consider how to power it. I got it fixed before we moved in, since my inspector said the previous owners had gotten lucky using it and the house was still standing. Getting my electrician to put in an outlet extension that could support the water heater cost less than 8% of the water heater itself.
Jeez, that's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Especially with that. I know you have also another story so for our next one. But
We're not going to talk about that though.
We're going to talk about smoking indoors. Not only can smoking inside raise your chances of having a house fire, but smoking outdoors can as well. According to the National Fire Protection Association, 1 in 20 homes, that's 5%, which is pretty low, but still, home structure fires were started by smoking near or a house structure. I was looking into this, and apparently 2012, 2016, an estimated annual average of 18,000 were reported home structure fires that were caused by smoking. And I'm sure there's got to be more years it's going to be the same thing, which is crazy because with this, it killed an average of 590 people and injured up to 1,130 people per year. That's just a year.
I know.
And yeah, but of course, non-smokers, obviously, they're a lot less likely to have this type of fire. But the risks increase when smoking, when it's in the presence of people who are under the influence of, alcohol, medication, and drugs. But easily to be able to prevent these fires, you just really have to be aware of the fire and, be aware of your surroundings, be able to remove yourself from the threat of a fire or smoke. Many deaths are caused mostly by people just not being aware in general of what's going on.
Yeah.
So if you decide to go and smoke inside or outside of your home, just make sure you put your cigarettes out completely.
Yeah. Always try to smoke outside and in a safe location that will not cause a huge fire in SoCal County. And you're right. Yeah, I'm so glad that the people that I knew that had the fire start by smoking indoors are all safe and have much better lives right now.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah. So the last cause is candles, and candles are an open flame and should always be treated as such. I know we love the smells, like you said, us college students love the smells. I love to light a fire and take a bath and
I know.
just kind of relax, but I think because of my history, having a fire at my house when I was 9, I am always super careful about my candles. Like I'll light one and then I won't be able to look away from it.
Well, that's good, because that's what you should be doing.
I know, but I'm just okay, it's not lighting anything. Okay, it's not lighting anything. There's kind of a little apprehension or anxiety when I light one. But for our college kids, us college kids, we need to we need to
Yeah.
remember to extinguish them. There was one time that I totally thought that I had left one lit on a date that I went on, and I told my boyfriend, I was like, I left the candle burning, and my landlord like actually went into my house and checked
Uh-huh.
on it for me, and she's like, no, you actually did blow it out. And I was like,
Oh my
oh,
gosh.
thank goodness.
What?
Like I was so worried about my little dog at home.
Oh.
And yeah, no, I
Well,
just
I'm sure tons of
no,
people have experiences like that, you know?
right.
It's more common than we think.
Yeah, yeah. So just always make sure they have a sturdy surface to prevent the hot wax, and just move everything away. That's the best things that
Mhm.
you can do for candles.
And with all of this information, we realize it's a lot of information, but
Mhm.
we hope you walk away feeling a little more prepared. Hope you had a couple laughs with us, as well as taking it a little serious, you know. But we want to thank you for taking your time to listen to all these tips that we shared with you. So with that being said, remember to prepare, protect, stay well, and slow the fire.
Thank you, everybody. We'll talk
Thank
to you
you.
soon.